All right, you guys. Hi, welcome. This is Hillary and Kara with Cultivate Fertility, and we're here with the beautiful Nancy Mae, who lives right across the way from me here in Northern California. And she's been working with women on fertility journeys for quite some time and got interested in connecting with women and connecting with their spirit babies through her fertility journey and trying to get pregnant, and became working with somebody named Walter McKitchen, who really trained and worked with her to specialize in connecting with spirit babies. And she's just done a lot of magical work in our community. And we're so excited to bring you her book, which is, I should know the title. And I'm like here with
Energetic Fertility Method.
Of course, the Energetic Fertility Method.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And we're here with Nancy. Yay.
Yeah. And Nancy also has these amazing cards that I'm going to read you some of these later, which are just so great to have on hand.
And everything we do with Nancy, she makes people, I feel like, Nancy, you make the fertility journey. We have a lot of people in our community who work with us that also have worked with you and taken your course and have learned so much about just using energy and working with energy, not only for their fertility journey, but just for their life, using spirit to help guide their life. And people really go back to all your exercises for calming their nervous system. And we're so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And it's such a beautiful kind of complementary way that the ways that we all work can they help one another, if you will. Like, you all are able to look at things from a very different lens than I'm able to look at them through. And once we put those lenses together, wow, we can see much more clearly. And it's so phenomenal, especially when we're wanting to bring in a baby, because from my perspective, it's not just a baby. We're actually bringing in a soul. And when we realize that we're actually bringing in a soul as well, in a little baby body, our perception shifts. And when we learn, especially with the babies that I'm working with right now, the new cohort of spirit babies that's been coming in since about 2020, maybe a little bit before, they're really looking for people to be much more aware of this process and aware of the fact that they're bringing in a soul, not just a baby. So I'm super thrilled to be here talking with you all about the foundational tools and the foundational aspects of how to get started on this journey from my perspective. And that's the content of the Energetic Fertility Method, Tools for a Healthy Conception and Beyond. These are like, imagine building a house. You want to have the foundation really set before you build the structure. And many of the tools in this book will help you to build your foundation of energy medicine so that you can align yourself from that energetic perspective to more easily bring in your future child and to sustain the pregnancy and have a beautiful birth process by aligning your energies. So I really would love to answer any questions anyone has, whether you've read the book or not, because I can speak about this from many different perspectives, including like, why would you want to read this? What are you going to get out of it? What's the best way to approach reading it? And also share with you some of the tools that I feel are the most beneficial for the most women that I've worked with.
I want to jump in there because this book was not available, when I was struggling with infertility and miscarriages. And I just, after working with so many people who've used your book and worked with you, Nancy, I just want to say that it is very well aligned with the concepts in psychology today, in that anything that increases hope is really good for fertility treatment. And so just having practices, which the book outlines very easily. It's like step by step, like one page of a practice that you just follow it. I mean, it's the easiest thing to follow. It's not unattainable at all. And so just having those practices at your fingertips as you're disappointed, or you're frustrated, or you're getting sad or angry on this journey, and you go into one of those practices, it really brings everything to a different level, and you can dive into it. You have control over doing that. It feels really good for people, and their whole attitude changes. It's as a person who's been through it, it can be a hard journey, and it's you just not sure like where to go at different times, but you could go into the practices in the book. It's so practical. You do lay out the foundation, obviously, about what you're talking about, Nancy, but it's not way out there and sort of like thinking from a philosophical perspective. It's more like, okay, here's what you do. And that's so cool and so different from other people's approaches to spiritual fertility. It's really tapping into that spiritual piece. So you can like raise yourself up with hope. It's really lovely. I highly recommend it.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I've just, in my mind, I'm going, there's the researcher part of me. Like that's my training is as a social science researcher. So the way I prepared this book is in a very easy to follow manner. I mean, I used to be a user experience researcher, if anyone knows what that is. So making things easy for people to use was my job. Worked at
Wow,
Microsoft,
that's so awesome.
Yeah, and that's part of, I think the skill set that I was able to bring to the book. And I definitely have that type A personality this lifetime. So I like things to be efficient. I like them to be easy to follow. And that's really what my intention was in terms of writing the book. And it's great to hear you say that you feel like it came through. And I love what came through in the book. There's a certain energy in it. And I also want to say, when you read the book, you're going to get different things out of the book each time you read it, because it's set up in a certain way where you're going to get out of it what you need to get out of it. So
you couldn't do it all at once. You know what I mean? There's so many different things that, and it's not a heavy, deep read. You can sit down for a few minutes, you get something out of it. You know what I mean? It's almost like that. Like, it could be like kind of on your bedside table or something. Do you know what I mean? How do people use it in that way? I wonder, do people talk to you about that?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you where I see the most benefit and then the least benefit. When someone tells me they read my book in a day or even a week, that's when they get the least benefit out of it, because I know they haven't integrated in any of it. I know that they have scratched the surface and have gotten the analytical aspects of it, the cognitive aspects of it. The way that I work is in the mind, definitely from the emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of things. And it's all about integration. Integration doesn't happen by just reading something. Integration happens by actually doing the practices. When someone comes to me, and I've had many people come to me saying, oh my gosh, I've been studying your book. Like a school book you would study or what have you. I've been studying your book, and they underline it. They take at least a month to go through it. They're doing the practices. Then I know that they are actually embodying what this book is all about. I will also say that it takes courage to do something other than just skim the surface, because you might find some places in you that might not be so comfortable to look at. And that's a big part of what we're doing with this book, because people come to me, they're like, why am I not getting pregnant? Well, chances are there are energetic blocks. Are you interested in looking at it? The only way to be interested in looking at it and to actually do something about it is to have the courage to delve in. I am not one to do a Band-Aid approach. I am much more one to get to the core of what's underneath it, so that you can really release this and open up that huge energetic field in you to allow that space for yourself and your future child. So my recommendation when someone is talking about reading my book is go slowly. Go slowly. If you've had a spirit baby reading with me, then I will tell you what tools to use from the book. In fact, at the end of the book is Appendix A, and you can go to Appendix A and say, okay, Nancy said this one for me, and this one for me, and this one for me. So you don't have to read the whole book in order to find the exercises, but you can do it more easily. And when you go more slowly, like perhaps reading one chapter a week and doing the actual exercises for that entire week, and then perhaps the next week go on to the next one, that is a place you're going to integrate more. And if you have questions, if you find some resistance to wanting to do some of the exercises, I always say that's good news. You just found where there's some sort of block. And that's the good news. Because if we're not even aware of our blocks, there's no way for us to be able to change them. And so many people I see want that Band-Aid approach. They just want a quick fix. And I know I was there. And it wasn't a quick fix that got me my baby. It was a lot of soul searching when I worked with Walter McKitchen, who wrote the Spirit Babies book. It wasn't like a one session and done. I worked with him for about a year before my baby was able to come and stay. And it was, like I said, it was very diligent practice on my end. And I am so incredibly grateful for the fertility journey, because it helped me learn so much about myself. And it taught me so many things that I don't know if I would have learned had I not had that opportunity. And it's really, we always have a choice for how we want to look at something, with the glass half empty or the glass half full. For many decades of my life, I looked at it as a glass half empty. And it was this fear, this struggle, this lack, this scarcity. And now the way I teach is the complete opposite. I teach with a lot of hope, a lot of positive energy, helping people spin the way they look at things to be able to look at things from a different lens. And that's really my intention with working with people. So much more. I mean, by the time we end today, we'll get you a handful of the tools that I feel are most globally helpful for the most amount of women.
I have a question about, you had mentioned some of the emotions. So you come to this and you really dive into for different practices for different emotions, but I wonder if maybe we could ask the people who are here, which they would want to learn more about, is it the sorrow piece, the fear piece, so, or if you have a feeling, Nancy, and then you could dive into one of those emotions and which practices and what you have seen work for people, if they're really coming back to, if fear is the predominant emotion here, which it often is, like, what do you do about that?
I would say fear is probably the number one thing underneath most of what comes to me. Even if someone has the grief or the sorrow, there's been some sort of loss, there's a fear underneath it that is going to happen again or something of that nature. So when it comes to fear, there are a lot of things that I'll talk about, and some of them will be in the book and some might not even be in the book. So you get some bonus materials here. Our collective, that's, worldwide, what I find is the vast majority of us have grown up in environments where there's a lot of fear. Look at marketing. Marketing is a lot about, oh my gosh, you don't want to miss this, and you need this in order to feel better, or what have you. There's a lot of lack and scarcity in the way that life comes to us, even the way we're taught, oh my gosh, we got to get good grades so then we can do, that's going to help us later. There's all this kind of energy. In terms of coming to fear, and working with fear. Some of the tools from the book that I highly recommend are grounding. Fear is never in present time.
Mm.
Fear is always attached to something from the past. If you are feeling fearful, you are not in present time. And to be honest, our only point of power is in present time. So by feeling fear and being in the energy of fear, you've given your power away. And to me, we are at a point in our evolution, especially as women, this is my viewpoint, an N of one, is I really feel like as a collective, we're at a point of claiming our power again. It's been thousands of years, I feel, that we've been silenced in many ways, and it's now time, I feel, for us to really claim our power. And one of the best ways to do that is start being in your body. Grounding is one of the main tools that will help you with that. What do I mean by grounding? Connecting with the energy of the earth. In the book, I talk about teach about connecting from your first chakra area, which is at the bottom of your tailbone, and connecting a grounding cord into the center of the earth, into a special place that's just for you. I also lay out a lot of other ways that you can ground. It could be through some sort of movement, whether it's Tai Chi, Qigong, it could be yoga. For some of us, it could even be jogging or hiking or something of that nature. And there's a lot of other ways to get grounded, but by far, that's the most important thing from my perspective. Since everything is energy, we can actually ground any part of our body separately, because every part of our body is also energy. So for instance, if you're feeling really keyed up or lots of fears running through you, and this is not necessarily in the book, but this, you can get the same ideas from the book, is what about making the intention to ground your nervous system separately? It's a practice I use a lot. I'm very clairsentient. I'm very empathic. Like I can feel things for miles away if I so choose. I can hear things, like I've got bionic hearing. And so I choose to ground my nervous system quite a bit. I am constantly grounded. Another tool that's really useful is what I call earth energy. This is a way to really bring the frequency of Mother Earth, 7.83 hertz, if you will, into our bodies. And the reason this is so helpful is because our bodies are designed to run at this particular frequency, to be connected to it. That's what we're designed to do. In our fast-paced world, so many of us have gotten away from this. When we were, in other generations, there was this opportunity for us to walk on the earth more. We didn't have rubber-soled shoes that keep us from connecting with that 7.83 hertz more easily. The way I like to teach it now is a lot through visualization, because many of us are pretty busy. We might not go out and put our feet in the sand or in the grass. So there's an exercise in the book that talks about earth energy and helping you bring that through. One of the other cool things about earth energy is once you're grounded and you bring this earth energy stuff through you, it helps you get rid of things more quickly. Who doesn't want that? That is like the coolest thing about the earth energy. So, and other things in terms of fear is I would check in, there's exercises in the book for working with your inner child. When there's fear, oftentimes our inner child is chiming in and wanting to get our attention somehow. And so working with your inner child in various ways can definitely be a huge adjunct when to quell fear and to really help you to actually, I'm just going to kind of go off the fear thing. This is my normal way. I go with the feminine flow. So you both know that very well. So the inner child to me is one of the keys to helping you to bring in your baby. If you do not have a practice with checking in with her regularly, and ideally daily, but at least regularly, then I encourage you to start one now. What do I mean by checking in with her? Hey, beautiful, inner child, young aspect of me, anything I can do for you today? Give her a hug, wrap her in a beautiful blanket. Mine happens to like a beautiful soft pink blanket that I wrap her up with. I have stuffed animals. My inner child loves stuffed animals, things like that. But bringing in your inner child to this journey will be very advantageous for you to get her on board. Because if she's not on board, it's a block. And I see it all the time. She can absolutely inadvertently block you from bringing a baby in. So there's a couple things. I mean, I could probably talk for hours about that, but.
So it would be awesome. I feel like if anybody, am I on mute?
No,
I hear you.
If anybody has questions, there's a chat and let's use it. Like you have time and space with Nancy Mae, the great. And if you have questions for her, I feel like it would be a really great thing. So you can go ahead and write in the chat, and
Hillary and Kara will take care of the chat because they know that
we know that Nancy doesn't.
good.
Yeah.
No
matter how grounded she is, she still doesn't want to look at the chat.
I am not, the less electronics I use, the better, to be honest. I would rather, I still write things out longhand.
Nancy, can we talk about that? Can we talk about some of the interference of like the modern life interference and the way you think it could be impacting women's connection with spirit babies?
Absolutely. There is an exercise in the book that helps you with this as well. Just kind of looking at like how you spend your time and the types of music you listen to and, the types of social media you might be on. Is if something is not bringing you joy, why are you doing it? Because if it's not bringing you joy, it is not raising your vibration. It's taking something from you. And what I find a lot with social media in particular, and then being on, on screens all the time, is most of us are not getting joy from that. So I personally very much limit my time on social media. In fact, my team covers all the social media for me these days. I am not on it unless I know, like, one of my daughters sent me something and my team tells me, like, there's a message from one of your daughters, go look. I literally do that because I feel so much better when I am not staring at a screen. Other things for me is the like emails and things of that nature, when we're often not even truly present with what we're writing, and we're sending things. And remember, our energy goes into those emails and goes into the text messages and things of that nature. If you're not in a good place, do you really want to be sending that? It's just, it's a practice that I love to have. And I sit on things if I'm not feeling fully centered before I send it. That's really a practice that I love. And a lot of people come to me saying, oh, how am I going to fit this in? Do I have enough time? Well, look at how you're spending your time now. If you are on Instagram or Facebook or, LinkedIn or whatever, I mean, the tens of thousands, it seems like, of different apps and different ways to be online right now, is that really serving you from a really high level perspective? Meaning, does it bring you joy? And sometimes it can. Like, there are some videos on YouTube, as an example, that just bring me joy, and I will watch them. And it's not often. I also don't watch TV very often at all, or movies, because I've noticed so many of them don't bring me joy. So if you're finding, and when I hear people say that that's how they connect with their partner, if they have a partner, I just kind of smile. And the reason I smile is because that's a certain type of connection. It's not a heartfelt connection. If you really want to honor your spirit baby, your future child, they're looking for heartfelt connections, not superficial connections. So lots of little things about the screen time. I really feel like it can keep us from staying grounded. So
Mhm.
be very mindful throughout our day to check in with our breathing. Even like on a call like this, I could literally have my feet flat on the ground and wiggle my toes just to make sure I can feel myself in my body. I can feel the backs of my legs against the chair I'm sitting on. Super simple practices to help you stay in your body. You can actually bring up one foot. I'm doing it right now. I'm massaging my foot. Why am I doing that? We have chakras, so energy centers on the bottom of our feet. They help us to stay connected to the earth. You've ever seen kids rub their feet back and forth on the floor or what have you? What are they doing? They're opening up their feet chakras so they can be more grounded. There are so many things that we can do in these sorts of situations to help us to stay more connected and in our bodies. So those are some of the like simple practices. You can also get 2 tennis balls and put them in a sock and tie it really tight and put it down, underneath your foot. I'm like, you can't see my foot moving, but I'm pretending I have the tennis balls there, moving my foot back and forth. Why not? These are the types of practices you'll find in the book, because that's how practical I want it to be. I want everything that I teach to be easily integrated. I don't want to make things hard.
We do have a question for you.
Okay, and the question says, shall I read it?
You're gonna do this is something we've talked to you about at length in the past. So this will be a really good segment here. Is Yolanda's asking, any other ways to identify an energetic block that I may have besides when uncomfortable with a specific practice? So how can we identify those energetic blocks?
Anything you're fearful of, there's an energetic block. Any tight muscle you have in your body is an energetic block. Those are some of the simple ways to come. When I work with people in a one-on-one spirit baby reading, I can go in and see your energy field and work with it and help you to see things more clearly. A lot of times, these sorts of energetic blocks are patterns. It's kind of like old wallpaper that's in our childhood bathroom that we might not even notice anymore. And unless someone else is helping to point it out, we just don't notice it. So many of these blocks are pretty insidious and we don't even know they're there. In order to be able to best find those blocks, I have found personally and professionally that someone else that we trust, who is trained and can be very neutral about this. So we don't want someone who has like a vested interest, if you will, like a family member is not often as neutral about these sorts of things as someone who's not in your family. But doing something like that is another way to help you find some of these potential blocks.
And some of the practices in the book too, because when you do them and the sort of you check in the beginning compared with the you check in at the end, you just know, oh, I didn't even know I was carrying that around, or I felt this weight, or my stomach was tight, or my chest, I wasn't breathing deeply. You just don't know these things until you take that time to really calm and dive into your own body. So that's another way that just doing the practices, you'll identify, oh, I had no idea.
100%. I mean, even like the grounding practice, you find some resistance to grounding. Okay, there's a block. There's a block for me being in my body. What's that about? Where'd that come from? Oh, there was some trauma somewhere. Oh, wow. Okay, there's still some things there, something of that nature. And as an example, some of the exercises that might help you to see some potential blocks is, in chapter 4, there's the exercise for those who identify as unmothered or undermothered. There may be some things there that you might not even be aware of. Connecting with your inner child, that may show you where a block is. Are you able to connect with her? Are you only able to connect with the 5-year-old and not the 10 or the 15-year-old or the 1-year-old? Those sorts of things can show you, oh, there's something here. Journaling about female and male energy. All right, I didn't realize I had these total, all these stereotypes. I call these belief systems. What are belief systems? Blocks to our energy. So the list goes on, and it's not that all of these are blocks to bringing in a baby, but once we have an idea of that, that everything is energy, and the way we think about things can actually be a block to our creativity, our creative energy, our happiness, what have you. It can be really cool to approach this from a place of curiosity. And that's what I really encourage you all to do, is come from a place of curiosity, because I can't remember who this was offhand. I think her name is Shelley Lakoti or something like that. And I don't know if this is research she did or she was quoting something else, but there was some sort of research from around the world about like these limiting beliefs. And the number one for the entire world was worthiness.
Wow.
So being really, really compassionate towards ourselves when we're doing work like this, like digging deep and going beneath the surface, because it does take a lot of compassion. It does take a lot of courage, like I mentioned earlier, and really going at a place that works for you, at a pace that works for you. Because if we go too quickly or we delve in too fast, it might disrupt our inner child, and that can actually backfire. We want to, that's why I'm so big on checking in with her and making sure she feels comfortable. What can I do for you today? So she feels comfortable on this journey too. So lots of exercises here that will help you to uncover things like, past partners, energy from past partners might be in there. There may be you may be disconnected from your reproductive system. And so I'm really about befriending our bodies. And how would you treat your reproductive system if it were your best friend, as an example? And there's some exercises in the book to help you. It's called Writing a Letter to Your Reproductive System, as an example.
And am I correct in just saying that doing these exercises and doing this work and sort of diving in on this other aspect of fertility will open up a pathway to a spirit baby choosing this is a great environment for me, or reaching out to you, or you're open to that connection? Is that what you would say? Or I'm sure you would say it much more better than me.
Well, let me see if I've got what
Yeah.
what you're bringing out here is, will these practices help in terms of opening up your energy in such a way to invite your baby into a very welcoming environment? And could it actually even attract certain types of babies to you to be able to bring them in? My answer would be yes to both of them, depending on, like I mentioned earlier, these particular spirit babies that I tend to work with are looking for parents who are more aware. By doing something like reading the Energetic Fertility Method book, you're building your awareness. You're gaining tools to learn how to work with your energy, to learn how to shift things that no longer serve you. Because all this stuff that no longer serves us, that that we feel in us, when we're feeling kind of low, it takes up space. That could be space for our spirit baby.
Yeah, and it blocks our health. So we need the best health to get the healthiest babies. It's all about getting the parents in their best shape. So it's all part of it, because no matter what food you're eating or what supplements you're taking or air you're breathing, if you don't feel good about this and there isn't a nice light free flow of energy in the body, it's less likely to happen that you get pregnant. It just is. It's every traditional system of medicine recognizes that.
That, and I will also add, I truly feel it also makes it harder to sustain the pregnancy.
Absolutely.
So these practices, from my point of view, are not just to do before you get pregnant. I actually encourage them throughout the pregnancy, throughout the birthing process, etc. So it really can become a lifestyle choice if you so choose. And I love it because it may, like, I'm so much happier doing things this way than the way I used to live, because I wasn't aware that there were these other ways to approach the world.
I love this next question. Is there a way to identify what energetic contracts we may have that block our energy?
There definitely are. There are, in my Energetic Fertility Method program, I do have a tool. It's a cord cutting tool that I recommend for people. This, if you are thinking about someone a lot, or they pop into your dreams, you have some sort of agreement with them likely. And there are other ways to, it's a lot about, even if you haven't been in contact with them a lot, or you haven't heard from them for decades, but you're still somehow they pop into mind, there's usually some sort of energetic something there, an agreement. There could even, and this may not be everyone's worldview, and that's fine. I believe in past lives. I believe that we have more than one lifetime. So these contracts and agreements can actually even be from the past, meaning a past life. In the best way to really work with this, though, is to be really, really, really grounded, and to, the exercises I'm thinking about are all in the online program. Let me see if there's anything in the book that comes to mind that would help you with this. But the answer is yes, you can. There are lots of different things you can do.
While Nancy's looking there, I'm going to talk about these wonderful cards just as a quick segue here, because what I really like about these is that they're bite-size reminders that could be a quick pick, just pick a card and sort of read it. And so one I just chose is, I choose to eat food that creates a healthy internal environment for my baby and me. This just reminds you, oh, my next meal I'm going to choose is going to be healthy for my baby and me. I mean, it's just that easy, instead of, feeling like you have to do a big, huge practice. And if that feels overwhelming that day, you just pick one of these and they're attainable and just reminds you of what's important in your daily choices. So I love that. These were brilliant to do, Nancy. I love them.
Nancy, how do you like to use the cards like tarot cards, where you kind of, a woman's putting them out and spreading them and feeling what she needs to hear for the day? Or how do you?
Absolutely.
Are you?
Yeah, that's the way I love to use the cards. And there's no right or wrong. Some people will choose several cards just to have kind of a spread of some ideas for the day. They really are meant to be reminders. And they are infused with a certain energy. They're really meant to bring that hope, that inspiration, that positive way of looking at things, that frame of reference, so that you can create a positive environment, a very high vibration environment for your baby. So in terms of identifying energetic contracts you may have that block your energy. Yes. Okay. So I'm thinking about ways, I'm going back to the question, if that's okay. I was thinking of ways to get rid of them, but identifying the different contracts and stuff, these exercises, there's actually quite a few of them. I think like the family of origin exercise is a good one in chapter 7. Things like that, the male female exercise that I already talked about the different energies, what's male energy, what's female energy, and our ideas around that can actually bring to mind some examples of things that have happened in your life that you may actually still have some energetic contracts or energetic agreements that are blocking your energy about. So there's a couple things in there. I had an idea of maybe reading a few of the exercises from the Appendix A, if people haven't ever read the book, just to give you an idea of the types of exercises they are.
Beautiful.
And then also to point out about 5 different exercises that I feel are the most useful for the most amount of people. That sound good?
Awesome.
Okay, so now writing a letter to your reproductive system, we already talked about that. I highly, highly recommend it. I literally had a client once write 20 pages to her reproductive system. She had no idea she had so much to say. There's a lot that we store in that reproductive system that we're not even aware of. Think of how you felt about yourself when you started your menses. And, so many times and so many years, many of us are trying not to get pregnant, or if there has been some sort of loss or termination. There's so much stuff in our reproductive system, energetically speaking. So we usually don't pay attention to it until something's wrong. And we usually don't give it like a lot of our positive attention. So writing a letter to your reproductive system is a great thing to do. I'm also going to say this is one of the tools that I recommend in the 5. Okay, so we'll just kind of there's an expectations exercise, and there's an exercise on permission, acceptance, and ownership. And that's all about energy. So if we don't give ourselves permission to ground, as an example, we're not going to ground. If we don't give ourselves permission to connect with our spirit baby, we're not going to, as an example. There are exercises, writing a letter to your future child, connecting heart to heart with your future child, acknowledge, forgive, and release exercise, fears that get in the way of connecting with your future child exercise, grounding your endocrine system exercises to increase your intuition, and on and on and on. So to give you like a little snippet, the 5, I know we're running short on time. So the 5 exercises that I highly recommend are grounding, the writing a letter to your reproductive system, the golden net technique, the my energy, your energy exercise, and then the golden sun technique. There are 5 really good ones. They're all super simple. And if you do those 5 and you do them religiously and you give yourself permission to do them, your energy will shift.
Beautiful.
Hooray.
I love it. Nancy, you're so generous with your time. So why don't you explain to the listeners how people work more with you if they want a little more than just your book?
Absolutely. If anyone wants to delve in more deeply in terms of potentially connecting with your spirit baby, I do offer spirit baby readings. I'm offering them now. I didn't for a long time. And then my guidance said, start offering them again. I don't know how long I will do so. I do feel like it'll probably be through the end of this year, and then I may not have the time to do individual sessions any longer. That's a great way to work with me. I am also offering my Energetic Fertility Method 8-week program at the end of October. It's a very deep dive in terms of me being able to hold the space for you for an entire 8 weeks so that we can work through these blocks together, so that I can help point these things out, be literally in a situation like this, and I'll be able to say, here's one of the patterns, and I just want to point this out in a certain way. So that is happening in October. I do highly recommend the book. You can get the book and the affirmation cards from my website, so nancymay.com. Easy to get them there, especially if you want a signed copy of the book. You can get them from the website. We also can get the book from Amazon. So lots of fun ways to work with me. I also offer some free events periodically. And there is a free event coming up on August 7th, and it will be about spirit babies. So if you have any questions about spirit babies, feel free to come to the August 7th event. And the best way to know about that event would be to subscribe to my newsletter if you haven't already. And you can either send an email to support@nancymae.com or just go to nancymae.com and sign up there yourself.
We have it right there
You're
in
so
the chat, and we'll put it underneath it, send it out with the recording. And we're so grateful for your work. It's amazing. These are tools that are also incredibly helpful for just mothering in general, right? And working with the energy of your children and as they fill up your life, and we need a lot of support with knowing how to parent them. So it's like, it's just the beginning of the ninjatic motherhood training.
That's a great way to put it. And to be honest, depending on the maturity level of the kids, I teach kids as young as 2 and 3 many of these tools. And you find creative ways of talking about these tools to them in language that's appropriate for them so that they can learn these skills earlier. You know, I'm very empathic, and many of these children coming in right now are what you might call highly sensitive children or empathic kids, and equipping them with some tools to help them to feel more in their body and how to manage their energy can be such a treat.
And I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for taking the time. It's a very special honor that you've been here. And I just want to tell people, for those of us that want to do something fun with Dr. Kara and I, we are doing a 10-day summer challenge starting August 7th to learn about elixirs to help you sleep and for your gut health and for your skin health, just to help zhuzh up how you feel physically, emotionally, and mentally after all that summer gives us and takes from us. Some of us need a little refuel, and that the link is, Evelyn's going to drop the link as well too. So it's lots of fun things happening. Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy. Always so nice to spend some time with you.
You're very
So
welcome.
beautiful.
And
Yeah.
thank you for having me. And thank you everyone for coming today and sending you lots of love and good thoughts, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks, Nancy.